It is Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and Mano is here.
New Mano!
Way up.
We know that's right. All right. Well, Kelly Price is reflecting on her debut album, Soul of a Woman. It's 25 years old, that album.
Damn.
And, you know, she was a very in-demand background singer before she put out that album. She was a background vocalist. She worked with George Michael, 112, Jay-Z, Mace, Biggie, Mariah Carey. And she talked to Rated R&B about being on Mariah Carey's 1996 Daydream World Tour and then realizing it was time to branch out on her own. She said Mariah Carey was singing Hero. She said, I know when I hear God speaking to me, and I knew it was time for me to make a move. We would exit the stage when she sang Hero. I started thinking about the fact that I was going to have a conversation with her to tell her that I would be moving on. And she said, I didn't want to leave my job. It was paying well. I loved what I was doing. I was traveling the world. I had a boss that I loved her gift. It was one of the hardest conversations I ever had. There was no reason for me to go, but it was time for elevation. Isn't that so dope?
And that's when she started her own solo career.
That's when she started her solo career. So that's, and she's saying background on Always Be My Baby, Fantasy, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Really?
Yeah, she would be doing creative brainstorming sessions for vocal arrangements. And so they did a lot of things together, but sometimes it's hard to make that leap, especially when you love what you do, but you know it's time.
Right.
All right, now Stephen A. Smith was on Podcast P with Paul George, and he talked about a lot of different things. He reflected on his own career, and he also talked about how there have been times when athletes have tried to get different sports journalists fired for their own personal reasons. Here's what he said.
Everybody has a job to do. You got cats that, and they're going to remain nameless as players, but when I went hard on a couple of superstar players, I happen to know for a fact they tried to get a couple of journalists fired. It's because the journalists asked them about something that they were hearing, and they brought up the brother. But when Woj reported it, or Shams reported it, you ain't say
All right, Stephen A. Smith also talks about, in particular, Kyrie Irving and his issues, and his father having issues with him also because of the criticisms that he's had for Kyrie. Here's what he had to say.
the father loving his son was coming to his defense by sending me text messages that, quite frankly, I didn't appreciate. And so because of that, it took on a life of its own. We were at the Staples Center. Kyrie rose up on me. He's like, "You still got that same energy face to face?" I said, "I'm standing here, ain't I?" Ooh. And he was like, "It's really not about me anymore." And I looked at him and I said, "You're right. It had become about me and his dad and how we had elected to communicate with each other."
So he did say that he regretted how he handled that whole situation. And then he talked about how things ended up getting resolved.
And the shame of it is I'm 55. Obviously, his father is around my age. And the younger son was the one that had to educate us. This is really about y'all. And so I just said, that's what men do. Kyrie Irving is right. And I called his father. And we resolved everything, and we met face to face, and it's no problem. I said to him, I'm still going to judge your son by what I see. But this notion that there's going to be personal animus or whatever, I thought I was just doing my job. If it looked differently, that's on me.
There you go.
Okay.
See, nothing wrong with resolving situations.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Men do men things.
And also admitting that, you know what, maybe I was
wrong.
I was wrong.
Accountability, right? Accountability is very important.
All right, and speaking of relationships, right, Russell Simmons has extended an olive branch to his daughter Ming. You know, they had that really public feud, and he posted, "When times are tough, smile and breathe. Keep your head up, yogis. God's got you again like he had you last time." So after that whole online blow-up that happened, it looks like he's trying to make sure. He posted a picture of the two of them together. And, you know, you don't want to have that beef like that with...
Nah, not at all. You don't want that.
And I feel bad. People were coming at his daughters. We don't know what went on for them.
That's not a good feeling.
Yeah, behind the scenes. You still should want to protect your kids, right? All right, well, that is your Yeetie. And when we come back, we have Under the Radar. These are the stories that may not be in the headlines. They are flying under the radar, but we still feel like they're extremely important. And sometimes...
What time they calling for secrets?
Just entertaining.
What time they calling for secrets?
Man, we did that.
They need to do a little bit more.
We can't just do a whole show. Well, maybe you could. A whole show of secrets. Mano's whole show of secrets.
Run it back.
Eyes
Spin the block.
wide open. All right, well, that is your Yee Tea. Again, Under the Radar. When we come back, it's Way Up with Angela Yee.